Welcome to the sunshine of Misano, the circuit Marco Simoncelli here near the Adriatic coast for race one of the weekend for Clio Cup Series. And a very big crowd is currently in buoyant mood, having just witnessed Valentino Rossi win a GT race. But now attention turns to this huge grid of Renault Clios that are all set, good to go for the first of two races, one today, one tomorrow. It is a race that features not only Clio Cup Italy, but Clio Cup Spain and the overall Clio Cup Europe as well, with last year's dominant driver having won the Clio Cup Series, Clio Cup Europe and Clio Cup France. Finally, David Pouget there lining up third on the grid, but it's the car of Gabriele Torelli, the Italian driver, on pole position, with another former European champion, Anthony Gerardo, lining up with him at the front. The grid is 44 cars strong. It is going to be very busy indeed. That's Anthony Gerardo that you're looking at. He switched teams for this year, away from the French team of Nicolas Milan up to the Rangoni Corsa team, Luca Rangoni's team, and taking part not only in the European series, but also this year starting to race in Italy. You can register for Clio Cup Series and also one regional championship if you wish, so scoring points in the Italian as well as the overall Clio Cup Series is Gerardo, and the Italian championship kicks into life this weekend. Clio Cup France not here, that's being led by Gabriele Torelli, the Mid-Europe Championship by Lorenzo Van Riet. Clio Cup Spain is being headed by Damiano Puccetti, and Clio Cup Series itself by Anthony Gerardo. In terms of wins, though, within Clio Cup Series, just the outright victories, Gerardo has had two, one at Nogaro, one at Portimao. Guillaume Mayo had a win at Nogaro, and Nicolas Milan had one at Portimao. David Pouget in Hockenheim, and Gabriele Torelli won the first Hockenheim race that ended under the safety car, and that is the 6 Clio Cup Series races held thus far, double headers at each. A reduction in the number of events this year because it was quite an expensive series in terms of the travelling for many of the teams, and some events did better than others last year. And the fact that you've got such a huge grid rather suggests that the balance has been struck right. The Signatech organisation that promotes the Alpine Europe Cup now looking after Clio Cup Series as well. 1 minute board shown, that means engines on. It is, on some bits of paper, 25 minutes plus a lap. On the timing screen, it is 30 minutes. So normally it's 25 minutes plus a lap, but we'll wait and see exactly where it runs to as the 15-second board is about to be shown. The grid is cleared, and normally, he says again, slightly tempting fate here, Clio Cup Series driving standards are very good. It's not quite like the bash and crash of some Clio championships of old. It's been hard racing, but respectful racing, and fingers crossed we're in for another dramatic race here as the cars are about to be released then. So pole position, as the 15-second board shown, goes to Gabriele Torelli, who was the Mid-Europe champion last year. He was the Italian champion 2 years ago, and twice a runner-up in the Italian Mini Challenge as well. Green flag shown, so the car's set off to get a little bit of warmth into the Michelin rubber, ready for the start of the race. The formation lap underway as the cars head down towards the turn 1, 2, 3S that starts the lap. And then they will swing their way to the hairpin at turn 4 in the order. Gabriele Torelli on pole position and Anthony Gerardo lining up second, ahead of David Pouget, who will start third, last year's Clio Cup Series champion, and Alex Lancelotti starting fourth. Lorenzo Van Riet, the leader of the Mid-Europe Championship, starts fifth, ahead of Mattia Lancelotti, and then from the Spanish Championship, Alejandro Schimpf and Giacomo Trevi comes next. Then Gianalberto Coldani and Nicolas Milan, only 10th, a long way back, the very successful team owner and racer, ahead of Leonardo Arduini and Jorge Palomeras. Next on the 7th row, Mauro Polderman and Mikhail Kari, ahead of Christian Ricciarini and Adrian Schimpf on the 8th row of the grid. Then it's Damiano Puccetti and Ludovico Longoni. Nicola Tosik is next, ahead of Stefan Polderman on the 10th row. The 11th row, Ronnie Stefani and Luca Grassini from Davide Rossini and Quinto Stefano. Jack Byrne, the Irish driver, on the 13th row with Adam Sasha for company, ahead of Mariano Alonso and Sandro Cutini. Then it is the pseudonymed Nava and the pseudonymed Horn, the two nom de plumes together, ahead of Andrea Chiechietti and David Pajot. Guillaume Mayo, having won a race this year, is a hugely long way back on row 17 ahead of Youssef Gaba. The Egyptian driver Samuel Chalin is next from Emir Sarak, and then Aldo Vicente Castillo has behind him Rolando Borracini, Manuel Stefani and Eduardo Miranda. Sebastian Gavassa is ahead of Andrea Cordini, and the last row is Michel Fay and Fabien Mija to round out 44 cars. So the field turning now towards turn 11 at the end of that back straight, and with everybody having the same base car, there's very little to choose other than driver ability to win these races. The cars, the current generation of Clio Cup racer, the engine is the Renault HR13 4-cylinder 1332 turbocharged CC engine, 200 horsepower they kick out, and with Michelin rubber, the cars weigh in at just under 2,000 kilos, and there is Gabriele Torelli leading them around up to the grid. 3 classes within the championship as well. There are different groups that you can be eligible for based on your age. So there is the junior element for the drivers born before 2002, the gentlemen born before 1979, and the challengers born between 79 and 2002. So again, it means that if you're one of the older drivers, you've still got something to fight for. And there's also a class, if you like, to reward the young guns coming in, some in their teens with limited experience. Gabriele Torelli, then I mentioned, is a successful Clio champion, and so is Anthony Gerardo, the European champion from 2022, lining up with him. Came from Peugeots into Renaults. The third on the grid, David Pouget, who last year won the European, the overall Clio Cup Series and the French Championship. He's won the Spanish in the past and 3 times a Peugeot champion as well. And then you've got Alex Lanciolotti, who's raced in the Italian Championship for the last couple of years, 8th last year. 5th on the grid is Lorenzo Van Riet, who comes from BMW racing. He's been a regular in the Dutch Supercar Challenge, but then was in the Benelux M2 Cup last year. And 6th on the grid will be 84. That is Matteo Lanciolotti, another Clio regular, and he was the runner-up in the Italian Championship last year. A couple of cars look under investigation for going through the pit lane to the grid rather than going straight to the grid. So already there are 1 or 2 drivers incurring the wrath of race control. The race director, the experienced Belgian official Pierre Delettre, will now give the indication that all is good for the start because the grid is formed. The last couple of cars back from the warming up lap. 5 red lights will go on. When the lights go out, hold on to your hats because we go racing in Clio Cup Series at Misano, and a good getaway made by Gabriele Torelli as David Pouget tries to go one side, can't do it, cannons off the side of Anthony Gerardo, who he found to his right, so contact made, although Pouget got away with that up into 2nd place. Anthony Gerardo got a rude awakening. And David Pouget is 2nd as they scrabble their way through turn 2 for the first time. So far, so good. 1 or 2 go a little bit wide over the curb, but contact avoided. But Gabriele Torelli then is the race leader. David Pouget 2nd. Anthony Gerardo is 3rd. And then 4th as they turn their way up through turn 1 is Alex Lanciolotti by the look of it. But Torelli trying to make good his escape. It is, oops, contact in the background. One gets turned sideways, others scatter onto the grass. Nicolas Milon in the Castrol colours making progress. The massively successful Milan. Whoops, big drama in the background that takes a couple of cars out of the race. One in the wall. Now, I had a horrible feeling that Milan was the first one that got sideways there and cannoned across the road and took others with him. But we'll see who has survived it as they come now out of turn 8 for the first time of asking. Torelli in the lead, trying to get away as Gerardo with a big send up the inside of Pouget goes back ahead of him. Anthony Gerardo always used to be a very, very feisty racer, but would quite often overstep the mark. Now that he's calmed himself down, he is very quick, very effective. Well, there's one of the cars that's in the wall, and out of the race, by the look of it, is 99 Guillaume Mayo, and the safety car is being deployed. So Guillaume Mayo, a race winner this year, out of the race on the opening lap. We'll see who else we've lost, because Adrian Schimpf has not been through the first sector. And I think the other one that might have got involved in it was, in fact, Quinto Stefano in the other Castrol car, not Nicolas Milon. So he is also missing in sector 2. So the safety car is deployed. Everybody has to slow right down. All this will count within the 25 minutes. And certainly there is Guillaume Mayo's car to sort out. I think he was the innocent one. He was kind of harpooned by the errant Stefano that came across the road. And there is the Castrol car. So 2 of them to be retrieved on the back straight, but a lot of damage to Guillaume Mayo. His car, one would question whether that's going to be able to be out for tomorrow's race, depending on how much work needs to be done. The GM Sport team is his team. He's another former Peugeot champion. He was the Young Timer Cup winner 10 years ago. Starts under investigation. So Guillaume Mayo, very frustrated to say the least. There going through is number 16, which is Giacomo Trebbi, who's won the RS Cup in Italy for the smaller engined Renaults for the last couple of years, on 2 occasions, 2014, 2016, and then came into the Clio Series. So Torelli leading from Pouget at the end of lap 1, Alex Lanciolotti 3rd, Anthony Girardot down to 4th when they came across the line. Lorenzo Van Riet was 5th, Matteo Lanciolotti 6th, ahead of in 199, the first of the brothers Schimpf, Alejandro, 8th Nicolas Milan, 9th Giacomo Trebbi, and in 10th place was Leonardo Arduini. So behind the Lamborghini safety car, everybody now trying to maintain the tyre temp and the tyre pressures, ready for the restart, depending on how long it takes to remove those 2 cars. And there is a third missing somewhere, which is 113 Adrian Schimpf. So cars coming towards us. Replay at the start. Have a look at Pouget, goes for a gap, found Girardot, just drove into the side of him. I don't think he expected that car to be there as he swerved sides, but by braking later, up into 2nd place went Pouget. Everybody else scrabbles their way out of turns 1 and 2 and 3. A couple of cars being forced out a little bit wide at turn 1 and at turn 2, but it's just so hard if there's somebody alongside you to be able to totally get the right line, because there just isn't the amount of available space. And then it was coming out of turn 6 onto the back straight where the big incident happened that's triggered this safety car. So there was contact first up, which sorted out treble 1 of Nicola Tosik. Got tapped sideways. But then that was Nicolas Milan's Castrol car. Have a look in the background, because Stefano Quinta there sideways comes across the road and bang into Guillaume Mayo. So damage on one side that then fires Mayo across the road into the barrier. And Quinto Stefano's car badly damaged, but Guillaume Mayo's even more so. But it was Stefano that was the one off the racetrack, lost control, came across. He may have been tapped into the slide, in fairness, but Guillaume Mayo minding his own business, and then it all went horribly wrong. Drivers are okay and out of the cars, and that is going to be investigated after the race. So it'll be looked at to see if anybody was responsible for the incident that put Quinto Stefano sideways. But the net result is that we've lost those 2. And as I say, somewhere we lost number 113 of Adrian Schimpf, assuming he got to the grid, because he hasn't even got as far as a single sector. So I'm just slightly hesitant that he never started the race. Anyway, his brother is going in 7th, so he's doing all right. So the safety car stays out. The recovery operation on the back straight is almost over, because I can see that Guillaume Mayo's car is off the racetrack, and therefore it shouldn't be too long before we can go back racing. All of this eating into the 25 minutes plus a lap. That's the duration for Clio Cup Series. Bit of weaving going on, as you can see, as the cars come out of the kink at turn 7. Yellow flags wave. So as soon as the road is clear, we'll be back racing. And Gabriele Torelli is the race leader, winner at Hockenheim. And that was a safety car, not only affected race, but it ended behind the safety car. Here, at least, he is hopeful of getting the race back underway once more. Down they turn. So many different teams operating these cars, although for many seasons the main teams have been Nicolas Milan's Milan Competition and David Pouget's GPA racing team, and at the same time as having to look after their customers, they've both been racing, both been trying to win championships as well. Somehow they've maintained this balance of being racers and also team owners and customer care departments. Safety car is in this lap. Gabriele Torelli will lead the car of David Pouget, then Alex Lanciolotti. So Anthony Girardot had a bit of a yo-yo first lap of the race. Out of turn 16 they come. Green flag is ready. 18 minutes still on the clock. And so Clio Cup Series Race 1 back underway as Gabriele Torelli accelerates over the timing line. And there are Renaults absolutely everywhere. 3, 4 wide down towards turn 1. They all go plunging in, and hopefully they'll all come out the other side. But a good restart by Torelli. He has managed to break away by a couple of lengths. The rest of the pack squabbling its way out of turn 2. In the midst of all of which, Nicolas Milan still trying to make some progress up from 8th when you see the next shot of the Castrol liveried car. Gerardo under attack then as well, trying to work his way up through traffic after, as I say, an up and down first lap, coming out of turns 4 and 5, down towards 6, which was where we had the big accident on the original start of the race. Others being squeezed wide over the curb, because if you're on the outside and the driver alongside doesn't give you room, you've not got many options. Down towards turn 8, big dive on the inside of Pouget by Gerardo, but he can't quite get up the inside properly there. He forces Pouget out wide. And while they're squabbling over second place like that, so Gabriele Torelli is getting away up the road as they work their way up towards turn 10. Much different line that Torelli has, very, very wide through 9 into 10, whereas it's a tighter line deployed into that section of the circuit by Pouget, just about everybody else behind. Bits of car littering the side of the racetrack as the field in mid-pack squabbles its way out of turn 9. And so now, Anthony Gerardo, with a whole gaggle of cars behind him, trying to hang on to that third place as Pouget gets away. It is Alex Lancialotti looking the white car in 4th place, looking to get past Gerardo. But Anthony Gerardo, now that he's switched to an Italian team, kind of feels at home in all of this, I would have thought. The French driver keeps Lancialotti at bay. Big lock-up by Gerardo, and there are more squabbles behind. Milan looking to try to make some progress as well, with Matteo Lancialotti in the black car being able to keep him at bay. But up front, Torelli making progress. Very, very wide there goes Michael Carré, number 7. 107 is Lorenzo Van Riet with his mirror hanging off the side. Matteo Lancialotti loses out as Nicolas Milan gets up the inside and goes through. Christian Ricciarini in 207 is at the back, bouncing way, way wide there. Look, was number 43. That's the car of Damiano Puccetti coming out of turn 16. But they all survive it. And now with 4 laps in the book, it is Torelli leading by nearly a full second from Pouget and from Gerardo. And one on the grass coming into turn 1. I was expecting a big whack there. Oh, there is a big whack. Cars go off the road across on the inside of turn 1. Make your own line, make your own racetrack there. Try and avoid one incident and almost have another one. Who was the main provocateur in that? 21. That is Stefan Polderman, who's one of the drivers in the Gentleman's Cup. That was not the most gentlemanly driving, but anyway, he has survived to tell the tale. So it is Torelli in the lead at the moment from Pouget, with Torelli, Gerardo, Lancialotti and Adrian Schimpf as the different championship leaders. All bits of contact are going to be investigated after the race. Good job there's one today and one tomorrow, because it'll take the officials quite a long time to wade through it all, looking at the first few laps of this. But we've got 15 minutes plus a lap left on the clock. Nicolas Milan there, not really making the progress. He doesn't tend to go as well at Misano as he does at other venues, and yet some of his cars have always done effectively around here in spite of that. So right now, Milan, who is normally one of the benchmark drivers, having to make some progress. It's odd to get here to race 7 of the year with him only having 1 win. It's not been the most successful start to a Nicolas Milan season. Maybe it shows how competitive Clio Cup has become this year. Number 16 turning through, that is Giacomo Trebbi in the MC Mototecnica car. Another big lock-up, scrabbling up towards turn 14. Every time you see a car on a different line, you wait for a bang, but so far they've largely avoided all of that. Again, some people's sat-navs are rather different because they take a much wider line as a number of corners, but at the end of lap 5, Torelli will lead from Pouget, and behind them, Gerardo is on a mission again, doing absolute bests in sectors. Over the line then goes Torelli, and is Pouget any nearer to him? The answer is yes, by 3/10, and then Gerardo third has done the fastest lap of the race, so it's game on between those three with now 14 minutes on the clock as they dive down towards turn 1 yet again, starting lap number 6. So Torelli and Pouget, both of whom are in point scoring for Clio Cup Series, ahead of Gerardo, who's the leading Italian championship racer. Cars accelerate out of turn 4. There's a little kink after that for 5, and then the left is 6 that brings you onto this back straight. So Nicolas Milan, last time around, gained a place up into 5th at the expense of Lorenzo Van Riet. Others fallen back a little bit, include Michel Fay, who is, again, normally a pretty quick driver. He's fallen back into 40th spot as the cars now stream out of turn 8. Always looks like there should be a really steep hill going up there, but this remains a flat circuit. Pouget has fallen back a bit, I would suggest, on this lap. A 10th lost in the first sector. And David Pouget starting to come under attack from Anthony Girardot. Last year, David Pouget threw everything at a Clio Cup season. He had strived for so long to win the French Championship. He finally did that. He had worked for so many years to win the European Championship. He won that, and together with those points scored, won Clio Cup Series, the Umbrella Championship. So finally, for the GPA patron, it was his season of seasons. Won what he set out to do, as now he chases Gabriele Torelli, who has always been quick in these cars. Whenever we've seen him, he's been a front runner, but on home soil, determined to put one over on the French driver, David Pouget, behind him. They stream down towards turn 16 to complete lap 6. Number 60 there is Leonardo Arduini in the bright yellow car that comes over the timing line. Arduini, who was 7th in the Italian Championship last year. 1 or 2 lock up as they get to the end of the pit straight, including just ahead of Arduini, Christian Riccarini. But up front, Gabriele Torelli stretching the margin, because Pouget now under attack look from Girardot, who has a tentative look on the inside line. Girardot in the same team as Torelli. They're both Rangoni Corsa cars, but right now it is Gabriele Torelli being able to maintain the advantage up front as they come along the straight towards turn 7, a little kink, and Girardot is close enough to Pouget to make a move, and as soon as David Pouget has to defend, so he falls away a little bit from Gabriele Torelli, or does he? Because by the end of the straight, actually, maybe with a toe, Pouget nearer to Torelli than you might have anticipated. Gabriele pulls away out of the corner, Girardot goes to the outside line, then has to change tack, gets up to turn 10 on the outside line, no way through there. Pouget doesn't give him a whole lot of room, so 2 wheels over the white line and onto the curb for Girardot, and into turn 10 they now swing. Down towards turn 11, and a drive-through penalty being given to 86. That's Jack Byrne, the Irish driver, new to Clio Cup Series this year, for causing a collision. He was a Ginetta Junior Ireland champion, Motorsport Ireland's young driver of the year winner last year, having finished 3rd in the mini challenge. But Jack Byrne cops a penalty, as there Nicolas Milan to the outside of Lancialotti. This is for 4th place. A wheel waving Alex Lancialotti hangs onto the position for now, but then when the wheel touches the ground, it's all locked up and tyre smoke can be seen coming off that corner of the car. Milan right up behind him. 10 minutes of the timed part of the race to go, plus that regulation lap at the end. Down towards turn 16. Alex Lancialotti under attack from Nicolas Milan. Both of them go wide. You can see the top 3 escaping, and Milan probably thinking, if I can get past you, I might just be able to do something about that little gaggle up the road and maybe think about the podium. But it's hard to get past Lancialotti, who makes a bit of a mistake late on the brakes going into turn 1. If that unsettles the car enough, there is a chance for Milan to make a move, as there Matteo Lancialotti almost being pushed along by Giacomo Trebbi. There are the leaders. And there's the gap to 4th place coming up now towards turn 4. There's more tyre smoke. The wipers are on now, as Lancialotti has knocked those in his zealotry inside the cab. So he's certainly coming under attack from Milan, no question about that, as they swing now out of turn 4 and 5, and that's 6 that brings them onto the back straight with another huge amount of curb taken. Roddy Palomares was the one wide, and there in the gravel bounces 115, I should say. That is Luca Gresnifera. That was at turn 14, but he survived that and gets back onto the racetrack. Right, Pouget versus Girardot. This is for 2nd. 9 minutes and change on the clock, plus a lap. And David Pouget doesn't really want to be racing Girardot. He wants to be up with and attacking Torelli, but Girardot is absolutely adamant this is going to be a Rangoni Corsa 1-2. Interesting that, as I said earlier on, he switched teams away from a very French setup for the French-speaking Girardot with Nicolas Milan's team to the Italian squad. And there is Milan making his move for 4th place, and he has done it. He's gone by as Girardot has a look on the inside of Pouget. Contact just avoided. There is Nicolas Milan, who's now clear of Lancialotti, putting him into jeopardy as far as another place is concerned, with Lorenzo Van Riet, the Dutchman, right there behind him. But now we'll see whether in 8.5 minutes of the race that's still to go, Milan can do anything about the top 3. Can he go after his former customer Girardot? Well, he's a little bit crossed up coming into turn 16, but if anybody knows how to deal with a slide, or indeed how to race a Renault Clio, it is Nicolas Milan. He has got this amazing track record in these cars. Comes over the line. Down towards turn 1, Milan fending off the battle pack behind him. But Nicolas Milan, who's won the French, the Spanish, the European Championships, something like 9 times a French champion. He's just got this remarkable strike rate, and now up into 4th place. edging away from Lancialotti, and then he can start to think about what he can do about, if anything, that top three with 8 minutes to go. It's certainly a battle yet to be completed. So the cars turn down the back straight. This is lap number 9 of this safety car affected race. And Nicolas Milan at the head of this long, long line with Lancialotti, Van Riet, t'other Lancialotti, Trebi and Alejandro Schimpf all in the big, big queue go up towards turn 10. As far as the lead is concerned, Gabriele Torelli still over a second to the good, and every time Pouget tries to get near, Gerardo attacks him, and that means that Pouget has to defend, therefore goes slower, and Torelli pulls away again. They come now out of turn 10, and actually Pouget, although he's keeping Gerardo at bay, Milan having a tougher time keeping Lancialotti at bay, because on this part of the racetrack you can get a tow, and although Lancialotti, I don't think he's going to be able to make a proper move up towards turn 12, what it is doing is proving that Nicolas Milan cannot get away and he can't go after the gaggle of cars ahead. Lancialotti locks up as he thinks about the inside line, and that will delay him. That might just give Milan the breathing space that he needs. Torelli, in the meantime, comes towards turn 16. He is still looking strong up front. Hockenheim race winner Torelli set for a Misano win seemingly, and having proposed that that lock-up would delay Lancialotti, he certainly wasn't listening. He's right back on the tail of Milan as they come now over the curbs and then over the timing line. So Jack Byrne's drive-through penalty has been notified to the driver. Everybody else surviving so far as 2.07 Christian Ricciarini goes through. And that's the fight for second place. Pouget still distracted by Gerardo, so Torelli still in the pound seats. He's still leading the way. Down towards turn 7 goes Gabriele Torelli then, the Italian driver for Luca Rangoni's team, with Anthony Gerardo looking to the inside of David Pouget. It's a rather tentative look in a way. He wasn't totally committed. So I think maybe had David Pouget run wide, then Gerardo would have been able to pounce. But as it was, he takes his line, Pouget takes the racing line, and then thinks about the inside into turn 10. Still no way through, but all of this now is giving Torelli a much, much easier time of it in the race lead, because little by little, sector by sector, he's edging away from this battle for second place behind. In towards turn 11 they come, that very fast kink, and have a look behind, because Nicolas Milan is still fourth, but he's certainly not getting away from Lancialotti. Then you've got in sixth place Lorenzo Van Riet. So Nicolas Milan, again, there or thereabouts in this battle for fourth place. Yes, it's going to be useful points, but he hasn't quite got the same pace as that leading line of cars as the field turns its way now up around turn 10. Lancialotti still fancies his chances of getting the place back, doesn't he, as he goes to the outside line there, but no, Milan covers that off, so the inside line beckons, and that's going to be covered off as well. So while he's defending from the still wiper flicking Lancialotti, Milan can't do anything about those ahead of him. The leaders go by. Torelli to Pouget, 1.2 seconds last time around. It was Torelli the leader, fractionally the faster. It is still Gerardo in third place. And there, going through, way up onto two wheels, is number 16, Giacomo Trebi. The livery of the car leaving me no doubt as to the number, and he got away with that in the 8th place man. Milan is wide out of turn 3, but Lancialotti won't be able to take advantage heading up towards turn 4, I don't believe, as further back a challenge comes not from Trebi but from the Schimpf Puccetti Arduini battle. So Nicolas Milan still hanging on a 4th place. His lap time's about 2/10 down on those that he's chasing. It does look, though, as though Gabriele Torelli has pretty much now been able to get away. It might only be by a 10th here and a 10th there, but add it all together, then it becomes rather more difficult for anybody to be able to fight back and attack him. So as the cars come into the right-hander of turn 10, number 16, Giacomo Trebi on the back of Matteo Lancialotti in the black car, and almost up alongside him, in fact, as they come out of the corner. So a challenge to be made, possibly. I made reference earlier on to Adrian Schimpf not being on the grid. They discovered a leak just as the cars were heading to the grid after a new clutch earlier on in the day, so the work, I think, just needed a few more minutes to put Schimpf on track. So big disappointment for one of the quickest drivers out of the Spanish Championship. In the meantime, Lorenzo Van Riet trying to get away from Giacomo Trebbi and Matteo Lanciolotti and Cristian Riccarini, who gets lent on there, look, by Damiano Puccetti. Others taking to the grass behind. The leaders go through. 2.5 minutes on the clock, so there is time for 2 more laps in the time and then the regulation lap. So there going through is the midfield fight that includes Alejandro Schimpf, who's 10th, Damiano Puccetti behind him, and those two both in the Spanish Championship, the top 2 in the Spanish Championship, part of the race in fact. Milan in the meantime still can't get away from Lanciolotti. Up towards turn 8 they will come. Those two, in fairness, have got away from Van Riet now. Still the wipers there for Lanciolotti. Hasn't got around to turning them off yet, so busy has he been in this race as they come up from turn 8 with more and more of the drivers now running wide. We've even got the first 5-second track limit time penalty to Mauro Polderman. So Torelli down towards turn 12. To the eye, David Puget might be a fraction nearer, but I think even if he were to get up with Torelli, he'd soon find Gerardo right on his tail. So rather difficult to really think of Puget as being able to attack for the race lead. But he has certainly not given up, and a little lock-up from Torelli might just give him a lifeline as well as they get towards turn 14. For 4th place, Milan versus Lanciolotti. These two having got away from Van Riet, who is there, look, with almost everybody else stacked up behind him. Trebbi 7th, Lanciolotti is 8th, Riccarini is 9th, Alejandro Schimpf 10th, Puccetti 11th, Arduini 12th, and here is Nicolas Milan heading up towards turn 16. Over the timing line they come. To the inside line goes Trebbi, gets up alongside Van Riet, but he's on the outside line for turn 3, and that opens the door. So all of a sudden, Lanciolotti and Riccarini go through, and Giacomo Trebbi finds himself under huge attack. He's on the outside line, works through his contact behind, and getting turned sideways there was Cristian Riccarini. He survives, more or less, but he loses places and drops back behind Schimpf. So it's still kicking off, and they are about to hit 0 on the clock, so there'll be 1 more lap at the end of this for Torelli, who is the race leader. He's in the middle sector. And there is the recovering Alejandro Schimpf trying to get back up on the inside line to move himself through ahead of Damiano Puccetti, which he does, and he therefore goes back ahead in the Spanish Championship part of the race. Lorenzo Van Riet up through turn 10, behind, being given a bit of a tap in the back, was Matteo Lanciolotti from Giacomo Trebbi. But when they came across the line last time up front, Torelli to Puget was 1 second. David Puget doing a personal best lap. He's got 1 more lap in which to try to catch and then attack. He may not be able to do that, but he's certainly not given up. That's Milan running out wide, and right behind him still is Lanciolotti. So as the leaders come up towards the completion of lap 13, there are still plenty more battles to resolve, including that Spanish Championship fight. Alejandro Schimpf just ahead of Damiano Puccetti. Milan, who is another in the overall Clio Cup Series, whereas Lanciolotti, number 13 behind him, scores points only in the Italian. Over the line goes Milan. And so now the cars go through with 1 lap to run. The final lap board shown to the drivers. Nicolas Milan keeping at bay Alex Lanciolotti. The gap between the leading 2, Torelli and Puget, went out again at the end of the previous lap from 1 second to 1.3. So I think Gabriele Torelli has now pretty much done this as the cars accelerate up towards the hairpin there up at turn 4. There is Torelli on the back straight. Puget is still pushing and is 16 thousandths quicker in the first sector. So quicker, but not by enough to really start to think about being able to make a move, unless Torelli were to make a mistake. Gerardo still omnipresent in 3rd place. And there, with lots of tar smoke settling, the car of Gabriele Torelli leads. And drama, because in the gravel, with lots and lots of damage, 2 of them have gone, and quite a lot of damage on this last lap. 73, I fear, is 1. So that would be Sandro Cottini. There was another car involved in all of that, as you had seen. So Cottini was running with Matteo Alonso, Adam Sasha, that kind of part of the traffic. We'll try and piece together who we have lost. I think it might well be Nava, the pseudonymed Nava, that was the other one in that, because he has not got to the next sector. However, Gabriele Torelli is going to get to not only the next sector end, but also the checkered flag here as a race winner for the 2nd time this year. He comes now down towards turn 16, and a really impressive drive that by Gabriele Torelli, being able to make good his escape on cold tyres early on and on the restart. Checkered flag waved. Win number 2 of the year for Gabriele Torelli, who comes across the line to win from David Pouget. And then for 3rd place, Anthony Gerardo, with 4th going the way of Nicolas Milon, just ahead of Alex Lancialotti. And then for 6th place, Lorenzo Van Riet, all being well. He was ahead, at least, when they started the lap. Van Riet is 6th, Matteo Lancialotti 7th, Giacomo Trebbi 8th, and Damiano Puccetti 9th, means that he wins the Spanish Championship element of the race. So Damiano Puccetti ahead of Alejandro Schimpf right at the very end. So good effort that being put in by Puccetti. So he was 9th, and Cristiano Riccarini finished in 10th spot. And there, big slide and a big wobble, and a similar accident, in fact, to that eliminated Guillermo Mayo on the first lap. So it was 73 of Sandro Cottini who got it all wrong, and Nava, who's also raced as Douai or Navajo, was the one that got caught up in somebody else's accident, and I don't think it was too big a whack to his car, but enough to put him in the gravel. And you rather get the feeling Race Control have lost their rag. It says on the timing screen, all cars of this race are on investigation. Like we've had it with you lot. We're going to look at all of you. So this is a very provisional result once the graphic comes onto the screen. Gabriele Torelli, though, I don't think he can be under investigation for too much, can he? Because that was a really impressive drive, and Gabriele Torelli comes through as a race winner. The Clio's race again tomorrow, those that survive, for more drama. But Torelli, Pouget, and Gerardo, the top 3, and a 2nd win of the year for Gabriele Torelli. David Pouget taking 2nd place, Anthony Gerardo finishing in 3rd. And there, Nava, or Douai, or Navajo, surveys the damage. I think the car's probably drivable, but it's enough to give the team quite a bit of work overnight. More damage sustained by Sandro Cottini's car from the perhaps appropriately cut racing team. Nava from MC Mototecnica, and a rather imposing looking broom brought to the scene now to sweep up bits of Clio. But Cottini's car needs a lift, that's for sure. So with all the cars being investigated, all the drivers being reminded they've got to stay at the circuit, can't go to the beach yet because they might be required by race control. But first up, got to clear the circuit. So this is how they came across the line. There's no guarantee this will be the result, but it's how they came across the line. Gabriele Torelli was first past the flag ahead of David Pouget, then Anthony Gerardo and Nicolas Milon. Italy ahead of the 3 French drivers. Alex Lancialotti 5th from Lorenzo Van Riet and Matteo Lancialotti. Giacomo Trebbi 8th from Damiano Puccetti, the winner of the Spanish element of the race. In 10th was Cristian Riccarini from Alejandro Schimpf and Leonardo Arduini. Jorge Palomeras was next, ahead of Gianberto Coldani. Luca Longoni was ahead of Mauro Polderman and Ronnie Stefani. Stefan Polderman 18th from Michael Carre and 20th David Pajot. Adam Sacha was next from Mariano Alonso, Eduardo Miranda, and then behind was Nikola Toshik. Further down, Jack Byrne after his drive-through 32nd, and 37 of them made it to the end. We lost quite a few with assorted incidents, such as Nava, Cottini, Stefani, Rossini, Quinto Stefano and Guillaume Mayo and Adrian Schimpf never got into the race. But it is a very happy Gabriele Torelli who steps out of the car to lots of applause from the Rangoni Corsa team. Luca Rangoni for many, many years was a Alfa Romeo racer in the European and then World Touring Car Championships, a Clio V6 champion himself, and then BMW M2 Italian champion. But his team now developing, and to start taking people away from Nicolas Milon's team is a bit of a credit to them, because the Milon squad has been the benchmark for a long time. That was Anthony Girardot congratulating his teammate. David Pouget in the background taking off his spectacles, then the crash helmet. But Gabriele Torelli will be very, very happy with that. A successful one-mate racer from Minis to Renaults. David Pouget makes his way around the car to say well done. Let's have a look at the highlights of that race. There were plenty of them, including Pouget bouncing off the side of Girardot at the start when he tried to go for a gap that just did not exist. He got second place out of all of that and spent the rest of the race defending from Girardot. Torelli, though, hit the front early on and was able to hang on to that as the cars battled their way through the first lap, where we had a rather crossed up handful going up through turn 4. And then as Quinto Stefano got it all wrong coming onto the back straight, he managed to harpoon Guillaume Mayo. That put both of them out of the race and brought out the safety car. When the race got back underway, Torelli was able to convert that lead once more, increased the gap as others just took their own lines going out of turn 1. Girardot had a mid-race punt to try to get back ahead of Pouget, but to no avail. But what David Pouget could not do really was stay close enough to Torelli to mount a serious attack. But there were plenty of battles further down the order. Stefan Polderman getting involved with 121, the car of Stefani Roni. That rather delayed Polderman, but then the final coup de grace was this, as Sandro Coutini's "To Me, To You, To Me" ended up going to Nava, putting both into the gravel and retirement. So it was Torelli that came through as the winner by 11/10 of a second. A good measured drive by Gabriele Torelli to win for the Rangoni Corsa team on home soil. So the podium awaits for the overall top 3. There are then the regional championship podiums and the challengers and gentlemen podiums that all take place in the Renault Sport area in the paddock. The pit lane is about to get busy. 2 GT4 cars making their way out on track as Anthony Girardot is called forward for 3rd place. Go back 4 or 5 seasons, Anthony was very quick but could be really erratic. He has calmed down immeasurably now. Years ago, he'd have been making contact with Pouget at every opportunity, but now, much more thinking driver. David Pouget has always been one of the quiet men of Renault Clio racing. Just gets on with the job, and another 2nd place and another bag full of points. Rangoni Corsa represented on the podium as the winning team, and the winning driver from Rangoni Corsa is Gabriele Torelli. To the top step, Gabriele, and it'll be a very happy driver and a very happy team here at Misano. The trophies then come for Anthony Girardot for his 3rd place. Then for 2nd, it will be David Pouget at the other end of the podium. And on the top step is Gabriele Torelli, prior to which there will be a team's trophy for Rangoni Corsa. The Rangoni Corsa team taking on this rather French-dominated win rate in Clio Cup Series, but thanks to Gabriele Torelli and indeed Anthony Girardot, then that's been a good start to the season. Anthony Girardot looks on, Gabriele Torelli studies the trophy, and now the national anthem for both winning driver and team. So Gabriele Torelli is our race winner. There's more Clio Cup action to come tomorrow, and that should be another lively race here at Misano. For now, though, from David Addison at Misano, thanks for your company. See you tomorrow. It's goodbye.